being snookered, Clunked Cyberclicks, and a Dodgy Apprentice. Well, welcome to Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Clearing the table. Snooker is a game that is hard to unpick, where players can be slow and some are quick, and colourful balls that go clunk and click across a table with a flick or a trick. Some of the shots are smooth and slick, while others are clumsy from the proverbial kick. But after exhausting hours getting on your wick, it's just a silly game played with a stick. Yes, we are currently experiencing the World Championship snooker. And for those people who like the green baize, it's a glorious game of watching colourful balls bounce around a table. Mr. Pete, I ask you, is this a game that enthralls you, or maybe you have a different opinion?
Well, no, it is enthralling once you get into it. I mean, on the face of it, it does seem like it must be the most boring television ever. But you've got, if you've got equally matched opponents, you've got the psychological battle of the two players. You can see what's happening because you can have a camera looking down on the snooker table. And for our US viewers, it's a bit like pool, only much better. The game. It's almost like there's a nostalgia to it to us in Britain because it's been part of British life for years. It's been on television for many years. It's been played in the same place since 1977, the World Championship. So it's been part of our sports culture, and it's become more and more popular around the world. But I think there is something also quite reassuring about it. You've got the world falling into chaos, and then what you can do is just ignore that, focus on the game, and the biggest drama is someone misses a pot. I mean, it's there's something relaxing about it.
Absolutely, there is. And of course, what's interesting is that many people like to follow the players. You know, that now the game is expanding. You have Chinese players, Australian players, people from Europe, people from the UK, of course. And, you know, there are those shocks that you typically get. Some of the seeds are knocked out very early on, and that's typical of what we're seeing already. I will say, though, that, of course, what's interesting is that the prize money, the pots are getting bigger and bigger. And what I think is good about it is that there is much more snooker on the television than ever before. And to your point, what you need to do is when you're relaxing, you've had a really hard-fought day, is just watch it wash over you on the television. It is a great way of relaxing, I must admit. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think the key thing to me is you can see what's happening. Whereas more high-octane sports, say like tennis to play or badminton to play, you can't exactly see what's happening. But in snooker, you can see, and it's not as boring as bowls. So it's got that in its favour as well.
That's true. Yes, and of course the technology has actually got a lot better. Why? Because there are cameras in the pockets, folks. Yes, so you can actually see the balls, you know, really close up.
Yes. If you tried to get you tried to get a 1977 TV camera in the pocket, there wouldn't have been much room.
No, that's true. Way. And of course, you've got the aerial shot now, so you can actually see the full layout and exactly where the balls sit. Yeah. Now, I must admit that I know that not everybody likes this, and the reason being is either because they find it very boring, or there's just too much of it. Because one of the things to note is, and maybe the game has got a little bit faster, some of the typical average games, that's the actual frames themselves, might only take about 10 to 15 minutes, whereas previously they seemed to drag on for hours. And what was worse at one time is that in order to win the World Championship, it seemed like there were hundreds of frames to be able to win it, whereas now you have to get to 18. And of course, some of the smaller tournaments, you typically would have anything up to, say, 13, 14, 15 types of frames. And so that really makes it much more palatable. But I think the one thing is, folks, and this is the controversy, you say that quite rightly, this is held in Sheffield. So the home of snooker for the World Championship since 1977 was at the Crucible, Sheffield. Yes, they are considering even moving it. Is that really sacrilege? It's a bit like, the Wembley of football. The whole point being is you need a centre, but there is a problem. And the reason is it's a very small venue. It only actually houses 980 people, which is actually a very small audience. Now, I know they get media rights, etc., but how do you expand the sport? So I can sort of understand. But having said that, I was thinking, well, you couldn't hold it in a football stadium because you wouldn't be able to see the balls unless unless you had some kind of display.
They'd be better off in some way. They're better off in some way improving the current facilities. Yes. I mean, I remember quite a few years ago, there was talk of moving it, and of course they abandoned it because people just associated it with the Crucible. So I think the nostalgia, the nice, comfortable feeling of watching it is a big part of its attraction, as we were discussing earlier. So I think it's going to stay there, and long may it continue. We need a bit of relaxation.
We move on, and when we think about what's going on in our world, we're very much reliant, aren't we, about data protection? Or maybe certain organizations need to look a bit closer. Maybe it could be a case of a closed shop. If you like to shop with click and collect, then be careful how you decide to connect. Because if your antivirus can't detect, it will inevitably infect and computers pick up more than you expect. Yes, click and collect. Well, unfortunately, Marks and Spencer's, M&S, has unfortunately, been hit with cyber incidents and has affected their entire click and collect service. This has impacted technical issues throughout their contactless payments and many other things that are affecting their ability to serve their customers. Well, Mr. Pete, I must say that when you click and collect your underpants, what are you going to do now?
Yes, it's worrying, isn't it? Because I don't want my personal details spread abroad and people being able to buy things using the vast reservoirs of wealth in my account. But yeah, it's not just click and collect, isn't it? It's all sorts of use of the internet for payment. So, that could be delivery as well. And there's various different delivery firms which could suffer and have, in some cases, have suffered from this sort of problem, a breach of security, and customer names, addresses, order histories are being available, or if people got hold of them, maybe sold.
Yeah.
The claims that there was no payment information released. Well, that's not reassuring, because what you're saying is in this case it wasn't, but in the future, so it raises concerns about the whole area of data security.
Yeah.
And if you actually go into the shop and buy it, if you're using things like your phone to pay, surely also there are problems with data security there. So this is what my suggestion is, Mark. Radical. What you could do is go to a shop where they've got some clothes. Try on the clothes and buy them using cash, using money. How about
I always do that with my
own. A radical idea.
Yes.
Go and try them on in the shop. You don't need to wear any to go there. Just when you get there, try them on in the shop. Yeah, that's the best way, in my opinion, because you get more attention.
Well, of course. But here's the other thing to it. Unfortunately, the company has actually reported the incident to the National Cybersecurity Centre. Well, that's good. However, customers who really are suffering from this find that some of these issues have limited their ability to be able to collect their orders. In fact, one particular customer said it on social media, said it was a total failure for customers. Another was saying that they were unable to pay for clothes using a gift card. You mentioned about that. And of course, the other thing is the timing, because of course, some customers were buying gifts for personal days, whether it be birthdays, anniversaries, etc., and they couldn't get them in time. Now, you're right. When you think about cyber resilience, it's every company's obligation to make sure not only that their company is safe, that's the systems, but also the data of their customers. So I must ask you this. Do you feel still comfortable with shopping and purchasing things online?
Well, it is only if I take certain precautions.
Ah,
So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can use as your the way to pay. You can use a company again. I must say, as I usually say, other companies are
yes,
available.
quite.
You could use PayPal as or a similar one like Stripe to make payments.
Okay.
Or a lot of banks now have top-up cards available. So it's like a debit card. It's not really a credit card, not a loan. It's actually money you top up a card digitally. It's an account, and it can only spend up to that amount. And if you pay with that card, people then don't have access to your personal information. They only the information about that card. Well, you could name it after yourself, but you could put a different name on it. And they don't have access to any more money other than what you put on the account. So there are ways
Oh yeah.
around this, the actual payment end. But if you're having to register with a company, what we were talking about with the click and collect, then you still have this problem of maybe your personal information being spread. So,
Yes.
but maybe there is a way around it. But the biggest way around it, I say, is to go hardcore
Yeah.
based in face to
Yeah.
face. Actually, go and buy stuff from shops. I
Well,
mean,
indeed. Well, a
what,
cyber expert has sort of advised cyber attackers never take a day off. The criminals are always on the lookout to cause the most disruption for the least amount of effort. And typically, as you would expect, big trading days, or would be Easter, also obviously Christmas and places like that, and events
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So what should always be a guidance is look out for those suspicious emails where they've got spelling mistakes or unusual links, and be
yes,
very, very careful about the trusted source, because what cyber criminals are really trying to do is just to infect your computer, as well as, of course, obviously they're targeting corporate companies. So they're not just targeting the big nationals, they're targeting you as well. Anyway, right, we move on, and of course, when you think
yeah.
about what's
Let's move
going
on.
on in the
Yeah,
world, business is absolutely imperative, isn't it? Now, one of the biggest shows that really sort of evangelized the importance of training and expertise was a show, and it's still going, called The Apprentice. And this was
yeah.
hosted by, yes, Lord Sugar. Sir Alan Sugar, as he was when it started, but he's now Lord Sugar. But I'm afraid, Mr. Sugar, business is not as sweet success as it should be. Here's a thought.
No.
If you want to do business with Lord Sugar, then your business must be worth its salt, unless it's seasoned so it's so hard to swallow and peppered with a legal fault. Yes, well, Mr. Sugar, it seems that the winner of your latest The Apprentice 2025 was not aware of any ongoing investigations after his air conditioning firm had been operating with an incorrect license. Yes, yes. Now, the winner of the show was Dean Franklin, and he's from Hornchurch, East London, and was crowned the latest winner of the long running BBC reality show. Well, what Lord Sugar is now having to sort of wrangle with is that this particular individual is the center of a rogue trader probe. And this was because he was failing to provide an F-gas certification for his business for over 17 months. And this was required, of course, by the Environmental Agency. Now, Mr. Pete, I ask you, this show being long running, it does beg the question, why was this not surfaced a little bit before the show? And what's your thoughts on this particular incident?
Well, Mr. Mark, what we have here is a lack of due diligence all round, isn't
Yes.
it? I mean, you've got Dean Franklin. He comes to the show with, well, of course, he claims there's no ongoing investigation.
Yes.
I guess I preface my remarks by saying I don't believe
Ah,
him, and that he was actually aware. But still, that be as it may, we still have the show itself under Lord Sugar not checking things out. It should. I mean, I know they have to present their ideas, but you don't have to after you have the main. You have to have the man himself. He doesn't need to be unaware,
no.
does he, of the background of the
Yeah.
person in advance? I mean, his team can look into
Exactly.
it, even if he's not aware of it. So, I think that this is a problem for the reputation of the show and Lord Sugar. I was going to say is a possible reputational damage for the BBC, but I don't think. I think maybe their reputation is they're so low anyway in reputation that maybe not. But no, I think it is a problem. And the thing is, I guess it may be that The Apprentice is not a great way. Going on a TV show is not a great way to get a business partner.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in this particular case, Mr. Franklin could potentially be liable for a £200,000 fine if a breach of regulations was to be found. Now, again, this, when you think about it, is quite serious because even though it's an entertainment show, in principle, the idea is that you talk about integrity, best practice, and obviously entrepreneurialism. And clearly, this is an example of what you wouldn't do. Now, of course, we should put the caveat here that Mr. Franklin has said that this has been hyped up in the media. There isn't a problem, and he's not aware of this particular issue.
Yep, that's what he said.
That's fine. And of course, if he can prove it, that's great. So there is the other side to this, is that let's say he's innocent. It also really puts a lens on the program because the sensationalism of somebody perhaps entrepreneurially not doing the right thing isn't good for anybody who's potentially looking to, doing it, getting into business. And I don't just mean with Lord Sugar, just, setting up a business.
Well, yeah, but what I would say is that with this sort of show, you can that it isn't a good way of looking for a business partner. I don't think that's true because you're looking for the sensationalism to get the views. The same would be, you could say that the X Factor isn't a good way of finding your next pop star. Certainly, it hasn't been. It goes time. All these different types of show, the same sort of type of show. The almost like different forms of talent show. Yes. Here we've got X Factor or The Apprentice, or I suppose you could say The Dragon's Den. It's similar. They're not aimed at getting the best possible business out of it. They're aimed at getting the best possible television out of it. So yes, overall, it's not going to be good for business. But I would say, maybe The Apprentice itself has run its course, but it's going on a long time. But a similar show could replace it. And the thing is, as long as you're aware of it, of the issues, and the due diligence is done, I don't think anything wrong with it. Yeah. It's just that maybe it's getting a bit of a tired idea now.
Well, I've got a suggestion here, Lord Sugar. Why not try creating another show called The Road Business, maybe?
Yes, in which everyone tries to get away with lack of compliance.
I think that would be very popular as a show. Well, I wonder what our audience thinks. So what do they think about some of the incidents
let us
this
know.
week?
Oh, yeah. To get in touch with the show, you just go to markandpete.com. Make sure you're subscribed, and then you can leave a comment on this. And in fact, every episode, and we do occasional shows where we bring together all the comments, and they're always great fun. But it looks like this week, Mark, we've had a look at snooker, and then we've had a look at cyber attacks on shopping, and we've also had a look at this brutal lack of compliance in The Apprentice. It's balls up everywhere, Absolutely. Isn't it? This week. But that's it for Mark and myself for this week. Catch you next time.